Hello everyone, this is Days, and today I want to talk about Infection mode in first-person shooter games. A mode in which I have very fond memories of, personally speaking, and I'm sure many others can relate as well. A mode which I thought would be popular enough to make it through to the modern shooters as a staple party mode, but for some reason hasn't. But before going any further with this subject, let's define Infection mode and its origins. So what is Infection mode? The objective of the game type is for players to stay uninfected for as long as possible while the zombies or infected try to kill them. Once all players are infected, the game is over, and the game will declare the zombies as winners. However, if there's even one survivor left, then the infected will have limited time before they can take out the last remaining player, or players for that matter, as this game mode has a time limit. Typically, the infected will have melee weapons at their disposal and are capable of one-shotting survivors. The infected also could have speed and health boosts, but that depends on the game and how the developers go about the design. Survivors, on the other hand, are given short and medium-range firearms, and teamwork usually plays a major part, whether you're on the survivors or the infected's team. Alright, that sounds cool and all, but where did this game mode originate? Well, it all started out as a fan-made custom mode in Halo 2, where players agreed on the traditional rules of infection, but since the mode didn't exist in Halo 2, players had to improvise with the tools that they already had, and agreed to manually switch teams and weapons at the time of each player's death to simulate the mode. In Halo 2, Bungie acknowledged the demand for infection, and the game mode made it to the base game, but did not appear in matchmaking until October 31st, 2007, when a special Halloween event was introduced. The playlist permitted up to 13 players, 13 being an unlucky number, to play Infection. It later became a regular among XP weekend games. It was repeated again on October 31st, 2008 and 9, but were ranked this time. In Halo Reach, which was where I played the mode for the first time with my friends and had an incredible time doing so, Halo Reach had a dedicated Infection playlist for the first time. And the game still has a few thousand players still playing to this day, so you can most probably still be able to play Infection without having to wait an awfully long time to matchmake with others, which is extraordinary considering that it's an 8-year-old game at this point. Halo Reach pretty much popularized Infection. It had two default variants, Infection and Safe Havens. In Safe Havens, humans can only deal half the normal damage but can still kill zombies with a headshot. Safe Havens grant only humans inside it invincibility and normal damage until it moves or they leave its vicinity. In May 2011, Bungie released a new Infection mode called Alpha Zombies. In this version, players who start off as infected have a red armor color and have unlimited sprint and extra HP. However, humans who get infected will not have unlimited sprint. Now Halo 4, with 343 Industries, tried to bring a new way of playing Infection and replaced it with Flood mode. This new take on Infection, however, did not resonate with fans as it had inconvenient spawns for the infected, some frame rate issues, and a far from perfect scoring system. Not to mention that the zombies were too powerful as they could go invisible and see through walls, in addition to their enhanced movement. To say the least, it was nowhere near as popular as Reach's Infection mode. Halo 5 Guardians added the mode as part of the Memories of Reach update, and it worked and looked very well mechanically and aesthetically. Halo 5 produced the best Infection mode since Halo Reach, to put it simply. Now that I'm done briefing you guys about the mode and its origins, I want to raise the question as to why has this game been missing in modern shooters? I mean, the only other games that featured this mode was COD Modern Warfare 3, and I remember playing that mode for most of the 2 months that I spent playing that game. Another game that featured this mode, or a very similar variant of this mode, is Time Splitter's Future Perfect on the PS2. A very similar mode called Virus, and it was the only mode that I enjoyed in that game, to be honest, but it's over 13 years old at this point, and it was a very underrated game for what it's really worth, if I have to be honest. But it's a very old game, and we're talking about modern shooters here. Are there any other games that featured this mode? Please tell me if there are any. But bear in mind, we're talking modern shooters again, not old games that no one plays anymore. I'm actually surprised that COD never brought that mode back after Modern Warfare 3, until I found out that it was actually brought back for Call of Duty World War II. But it was broken. Not sure if they fixed it, but at this point I'm very apathetic towards Call of Duty. But I'm glad that they at least tried to bring the mode back, because that attempt alone might remind and hopefully prompt other developers to make their own versions of Infected mode, which brings us to the next part of this video, which is what unreleased games could bring Infected mode to the market again. I'll start off with the only already released game in this list, and it's Destiny, both 1 and 2. I was patiently waiting and almost sure that Bungie was going to bring some variation of Infection to Destiny. But they did not, surprisingly so, for whatever reason. I really doubt that anyone has copyrights over the game mode, so it's a far-fetched excuse in my opinion, as it's an idea, and you can't copyright an idea that was fan-made in the first place. Not to mention that there are many ways for developers to add their own twist on the mode and make it unique to their own game. So yeah, it's beyond me why Bungie never brought it to Destiny. And if you still think it's a copyright issue, think of the futility of PUBG's case against Fortnite, and you should understand how Microsoft or 343 Industries can't simply claim copyrights over Infection mode. That will not happen, and it is certainly not the case. And if it were, it would be unbelievably absurd. Now the next game is without a doubt Halo 6. There's plenty of videos of fans talking about their visions for Infection for Halo 6 and what wishes they have for it. So you may look those videos up if you're interested in Halo 6's Infection mode. I'm pretty sure there are many videos talking about Infection mode and speculations for Halo 6. So you can support the community in terms of Halo 6's content. One game that could easily have a success implementing Infection mode in my opinion is Rage 2, with its steampunk, post-apocalyptic, Mad Max-like theme that it has going for it, as well as its fast-paced, solid shooting mechanics, at least that's what it looked like in the trailer, coupled with boosting abilities and crazy guns and already existing NPCs that can act as the infected. I think Bethesda can easily enjoy success in implementing this game mode, which no FPS fan would not want or complain about. Now the final game I want to propose Infection mode to is Red Dead Redemption 2. Now you might be asking, what? But RDR2 is not an FPS game. Well yes, it isn't mainly FPS, it's both FPS and third-person shooter. Rockstar confirmed that it will have first-person shooter mode in both story and multiplayer at launch, and that the handling and mechanics of guns in first-person shooter mode will be better than that of GTA 5's and way more polished. Now I'm 99% sure that this mode will most likely never make it to Red Dead Redemption 2, but I still want to propose a possible Infection mode that's feasible enough for Rockstar to implement in future updates or DLC for Red Dead Redemption 2. Now if you just take the time and envision Infection mode in this open world Wild West setting where Rockstar Games is no stranger to putting zombies in Red Dead Redemption, as displayed in their Undead Nightmare DLC for Red Dead Redemption 1 back in October 2010. It isn't too far-fetched indeed. Trusting that now in Red Dead Redemption 2, we've got refined and polished mechanics all around, and not just shooting mechanics. I can imagine them releasing a Red Dead Redemption 2 Zombies DLC, which is totally plausible and, at this point, expected of them. What I would personally like to see, and I'm sure many wouldn't mind, is the addition of such a simple but fun party game mode such as Infection mode, where the traditional rules of the game mode are in place, but with Rockstar's own twist on the mode. And since Rockstar don't seem to be willing to tap into the Battle Royale trend, they could have this little fun game mode instead, which is way more feasible than a Battle Royale mode, but not less fun for that matter. They could call it something like Undead Infection, or Undead Spread, or anything else. Let's just call it Undead Infection for now. Let's suppose that Undead Infection will have 16 players in a single lobby. And at the beginning of the match, one player is chosen randomly to become infected, or undead. And similar to Alpha Zombies from Halo, the first infected player will have more power advantages than those killed by him/her during the match. The 15 other players will spawn with pistols and will have to scavenge the ins and outs of the map, including buildings, barns, and farms for more short to medium range weapons, and maybe include 1 or 2 discoverable long-range weapons to be picked up by 1 or 2 players for long-range engagements with the zombies, but at the cost of dropping the medium-ranged weapon. The first randomly selected infected player will have powers to help them deal with the 15 other players seeking to kill them. Powers like the ability to jump higher and sprint faster than the regular infected, and a melee weapon in hand with a lunging ability that allows the player to have the chance to quickly close distances between them and the numerous players shooting, trying to survive. Players will want to stick together and increase chances of survival, since it will be fairly difficult to take out the alpha zombie with starter weapons without teamwork. Now, it has to be sort of balanced for that single player trying to kill one of the 15 players who might group together to just keep killing that single player until time runs out, which isn't too fair. So you got to give that first player some sort of an upper hand to help them kill one of the 15 players and spread the infection. Now, with every human player's death, they will respawn as infected. But here's the catch for Red Dead Redemption. Their first respawn as infected, and only the first respawn as infected, will take place immediately after death, at the time and place of that death, which will force human players to be wary of which of the human players gets taken out by the infected, making it a little tougher for human players to camp in buildings and encouraging infected players to rush camping players, knowing that killing any of them will result in an immediate resurrection of the killed human player as an infected. This adds a very fun dynamic to the game mode and will cause many funny situations between players. In one instance, you've got your teammates back against the infected, and in the next, you're attacking that very same teammate because they didn't pay attention that you got killed. I think this is just one of the ways for Rockstar to make the game mode unique to Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, in terms of third or first person mode, given the supposedly fluid transition between third and first person modes in RDR2, it can work just fine as long as the aiming and shooting isn't so ridiculously instilled with aim assist. Obviously there won't be an aim assist on PC, but it will have to be balanced for consoles. It's up to Rockstar and how polished the game ends up being at the end of the day. The more refined it is, the more fun it will be. Now, there are a bunch of mechanics and objectives that can add to the game mode to make it more complex and interesting, but that's a whole other video for a whole other time. They can add a whole bunch of things, from capturing objectives to securing buildings and whatnot, and there are so many zombie modes and non-zombie modes that they can add to Red Dead Redemption to make it hella fun. Look at GTA Online, for example. It has so many modes, but that game's just getting old. And Red Dead Redemption is going to have so much potential in terms of multiplayer, and I really hope Rockstar takes advantage of that right at launch. There are other nuances to be discussed in terms of that mode, but I'll be tapping into game design decisions that cater to the balancing of the game type, and maybe including these nuances in this video isn't gonna do any favors, and it will unnecessarily prolong an already long enough video, and most people won't finish watching it. Though if this video reaches everyone and everyone's on board with it, the idea, I mean, it's a pretty cool idea. I don't see why anyone would object to including infection mode. I'm actually willing to make a full game design document and present it to Rockstar completely free of charge, even though I know they don't really need me to make them a game design document, but hey, I'm willing. I just want to see this game mode in Red Dead Redemption 2, because I truly believe that it will add tens, if not hundreds of hours to Red Dead Redemption 2's multiplayer replayability value. And that mode alone will add all these hours of replayability, let alone all the other modes that they're going to add. But there's also a chance that no one will see the vision that I'm proposing, and this video will sink into the endless video archives of YouTube. I'll be hoping for the former, as I would love to exercise my game design ability to make games more fun and more pro-consumer on an official level with a game studio, as I am interested, obviously, in a game design career, if you haven't noticed already. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and please share your own ideas with what other features or game modes could be added to the game's multiplayer and make it more fun to play. I would love to discuss these things with the community. Anyway, that was it, and you guys have yourselves a good day. We'll see you in the Wild West.